Hi, my name is Katie Sarfati, and I'm going to explain a little bit about the transactional model of communication. Before I do that, though, I'm going to explain the linear and the interactive model so we can get a better idea of what the transactional model is and how it is different. So the linear model starts with a sender and it has a receiver, and it is very simple, very plain. So the sender is going to send a message to the receiver, and they're going to encode that message by way of speaking or however they are communicating, and the decoder is then going to decode the message, and that is how they interpret the message. And there can be outside noise that interrupts the way that they are communicating, and that is pretty much it. There is no back and forth, that's it. The interactive model of communication, however, is a little bit more interactive. So the sender can send a message to the receiver, and then the receiver can then give them feedback. And this can go in a circle, and this is how they are going to communicate, and that is how they will go back and forth. However, they cannot send messages simultaneously. Now, the interactive model also has noise. It has different outside forces that can interrupt the way that you are communicating as well. These different noises can be physiological, so somebody can have a really bad headache that may be impacting the way that they are understanding or speaking with somebody else. Another thing is physical noise. There may be a plane flying overhead, or there may be a dog barking that literally interrupts the way that you can hear somebody because you can't hear them. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the transactional model of communication. So the transactional model of communication is different from the other two in the fact that you cannot not communicate. So even by ignoring somebody, by not talking to them, you are still communicating. You are communicating with them non-verbally, but you are still communicating with them that you don't want to verbally talk to them. That's a way of communication. The next thing is context. So context is obviously going to change anything that we are talking to a person about. Whether it be your friend, you are going to be a little bit more relaxed with your friend than you are going to be that somebody is interviewing you for a job with their company. You are obviously going to be a little bit more stressed out, and it may change your body language. It may change the way that they interpret the way you're speaking to them, the way you're sitting. Everything changes the way you communicate with somebody you're interviewing with versus the way you're talking with a friend. You're going to be more relaxed. You're going to maybe use some different words that you don't use with an interviewer. The next thing that I want to touch on is the experience. So we all live different lives. We all have different past and previous experiences that can change the way we communicate with one another. For example, I am a Georgia Bulldog fan. I've had some bad experiences with Florida Gator fans. However, not all Gator fans are bad, but that previous experience is going to change the way that I interact with Gator fans from then on. So if I see a Gator fan at the store, I am going to interact with them maybe a little bit differently just because of the way that I had that previous past experience with another possibly bad Gator fan. The next thing is tone of voice. So the tone of voice can impact the way that we can speak to one another, because the way that you can tell the tone of voice of a family member because you live with them, you can tell their tone of voice is different than a stranger. You can tell that they're having a bad day based on their tone of voice, but you may not be able to tell over something like text. And that is something that the transactional model specifically explains a little bit. The medium of communication impacts the way that we interpret the message, and that changes the way that we communicate with one another. So yes, thank you very much for listening, and I appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day or night or morning or whatever, but thank you. And this was how the transactional model differs from the interactive model and the linear model of communication. Thank you.